Audible?
Yes.
So, I'm Suraj. I work in Book My Show. I've been there for 2 years. And there is one difference between all the other three speakers and me. They are speakers, I am not. This is I'm trying for the first time. And this is after Gaurav giving me 10 motivation sessions to do this. Yeah, this is my first time. या एंड आई रिमेम्बर टेलिंग गौरव कि भाई कुछ और हो तेरे नाम के कोई बग फिक्स हो मुझे दे दे बट दिस ये नहीं होगा बट या हियर वी आर so today we are going to talk about mobile at scale. This is what they don't teach you. So initially the title I prepared was how do you prepare your code, your team and your infrastructure for scale, but Gaurav ने बोला कि ऐसा नहीं होता है so then we came up with this title. One thing about scale is people like whenever they talk about scale in industry, on forums, in technical meetings, mostly the focus is on backend, and mostly whenever even the engineering team is talking about, whenever they talk about scale, they talk about how many numbers of users we are serving, what is our database size, what is our average query time, like all those metrics. And when it comes to backend or web, the metrics for measuring the scale are very clear, like how many responses you serve, total number of response size you served, and what was the average query time. There are so many metrics, but when it comes to mobile, people don't really very openly talk about the things which are really like impactful when it comes to like native mobile apps and their development. So this talk is mostly about that only. Okay, so I have divided our talk into these 5 questions. First is why is scale different on mobile? Then how do we manage our code's complexity when our apps are going from like small and fun to large and complex? And then how do we scale our people and our pipelines to adjust for this scale and growing code base? Then we'll talk about the great debate that should we ditch native and go to some cross-platform solution or maybe even a multi-platform solution. And then we'll talk about like some post-production stuff, which will where we'll talk about what makes a good app great. Okay. So first part is about why scale is different on mobile. We all are mobile developers. Just let me just get the idea of room. How many of you are students? Okay, doing mobile development for 2 years. Okay, 4, 6, 8 plus. Yeah, so mostly I think almost 90% of the room will mostly able to relate to the content. Yeah, so why scale is different for mobile? Because one mobile app at a time, only one user is using that app. So some persons, we deal with a lot of management stuff, product people, marketing people. For them, उनको लग सकता है कि एक ऐप है एट अ टाइम एक यूजर यूज कर रहा है तो यहाँ पे स्केल कहाँ है, वेयर इज द स्केल? तो we know all this stuff, but we should be able to communicate that where the scale comes from when it comes to mobile development. And why I'm talking mobile development, because 90% of the content that we will be talking about here is relevant for both Android and iOS. Okay, so first thing is this unforgiving binary. So this is what we do, right? We write our code in Android Studio or Expo, then we build our binary and we submit the binary to Play Store, and the Play Store's responsibility is to serve that binary to the users. Okay, so the problem here is, if you see, the problem is we don't give the Play Store the source code of our application. We give the compiled binary. जो पूरा binary बनता है, we submit that binary, and this is the core problem. And here is the consequence. Whenever we ship a bug to Play Store, knowingly, unknowingly, and user installs that app from Play Store, there is no going back. Even if you fix that bug, as soon as you found a bug in production, you fix that bug, you will have to build it, you will have to sign that build, you will have to put that build on Play Store, and you will have to again start a rollout. And when you have some scale, people don't generally recommend 100% rollout right at the go. So there is a concept called staged rollout. So this rollout will go to 1% of the user, then 10%, then 50%, then like whatever your organization has chosen, but there is always a stage rollout. So whenever you put a bug in production, there is like firing a bullet through a gun, there is no coming back. Unless user manually goes and updates the app, the bug is going to stay on that device. But for web or backend, this is not the case. They notice some bug, they fix that bug, and next second that bug fix is available for 100% of their audience. But in our case, this is not possible because of this unforgiving binary case. So we'll have to be very careful when putting things into production because there is no coming back. So that's why having a really good testing infrastructure, we'll talk more about this in our testing wala part, but that's why having a really good testing infrastructure is not just nice to have or an add-on feature for app. This is like a must-have feature for app, especially when you are dealing with some kind of scale. So the next problem with particularly in mobile app, in iOS this is not a very big nightmare, but in case of Android we have this fragmentation nightmare. And now this is not just about handling the screen size. This is about handling different kinds of hardware, different kinds of versions, different kinds of manufacturers and different kinds of schemes, right? So in case of web or backend, again this is not relevant at all, but for us this is very big issue because we have again ton of unique devices, ton of OS versions and ton of OEM schemes, and because of this a lot of things comes into picture which backend and web simply doesn't have to care about, such as let's say we want to use a new cool Jetpack library, and that Jetpack library supports from Android API version 28 plus, but your organization and your app is supporting minimum version let's say 26. So that is the only reason you cannot use the feature wise superior library in your app. But again, because backend and web kind of owns their source code, kind of owns, so in case of backend they owns their servers, they owns their source code, entire platform from right start to end, they have complete ownership. But we have this, like there are different kinds of OEM skins, like you will see some bug in your Firebase, some crash happening, that is happening only on Samsung One UI 4. Like how you are able to like justify this कि Samsung के एक डिवाइस पे, एक स्पेसिफिक डिवाइस पे when there is specific One UI का 4 version is there, your camera scanner is not working. So this is again, this is something that only we have to deal with. The third thing is the hostile environment that our app lives in. Okay, again, backend has complete ownership, but our app is a guest in the environment. Our app is just a guest on device. It doesn't have control on all the resources. It doesn't have control on network. So the first thing is unreliable network. So whenever it comes to backends and server, these guys brag about like we have 99.9% uptime for our database and everything. But as an app developer, we should deal with, like we kind of deal with 99.9% of downtime, because network can go anytime. So you will have to prepare your apps to work on any kinds of network, low network, no network, and sometimes even Android network provider doesn't give you a very reliable indication of how network is performing. So even we have to like deal with those cases as well. Again, there is this battery limitations because again multiple devices, multiple battery sizes, so you cannot give too much drain on the battery. And the next is again, as I said, the OS is the boss. Whenever OS feels that it is lacking on the resources, your app is consuming a lot of resources without even telling you, considering you, it will just kill your app in the background. So as a developer, as a owner, you'll have to maintain that state. Whenever the app kills and user comes back to your application, he will not see any kind of random behavior. So yeah, and the next is the state management maze. Again, whenever some backend or management people think that, come on, you guys are Android developer, we are giving you the data, just render the data, that's only your job. But that is not the case because we'll have to think about this state management maze which is happening on our devices because we respond to the app's events. We don't own the event. App will tell you, okay, I'm going into the background, do whatever what you want to do. Okay, I'm killing your app, do whatever you want to do. Because user got a phone call, I'm putting your app in a pause state, do whatever you want to do. We are just responding to the app's lifecycle event. So whenever you are doing state management, we need to consider all of these things while writing our code. Again, most of the people don't get it that state management is hard, and this is actually really hard problem. For example, consider your Notion or Google Docs, okay, and you have user who is writing in his Google document on his mobile app in offline state. Web doesn't allow you to edit Google Doc in offline state, but Notion or even Google Doc, they allow you to write in offline state. So this becomes a very big challenge. How do you sync the data when the network is back with the backend? And it is not just Google Doc, but every application who has some kind of offline capability. And when user installs your app, they kind of expect some kind of offline capability. Otherwise, why will they install the app? They can just go to the web, right? So this becomes a very hard problem. How do you manage the state when you are in offline mode? For example, let's again consider Google Notion, for example, and Notion you're in offline mode. You have updated the document, but the funny part is, or the tricky part is, you can have two devices. You can edit the same document in offline mode on those two devices. Now, this is Notion's Android apps and backend's communication responsibility is to how to resolve the conflict which is happening when you come back online on one or multiple devices. So again, these kinds of problems that we have to like deal with as an Android or app developers when it comes to again scale. We discussed that mobile is different. We have unforgiving development. Once we ship the bug, there is no going back. We have extreme fragmentation. iOS again blessed because they have only one manufacturer. Because we have like as you might have seen in that screenshot, I took it randomly, and that app was like supporting 20,000 different device models. Not devices, device models. Even if you just open Google Play console, if you have, and if you go to fragmentation, you will see if your app is targeting to API level 26, you are supporting around 22,000 different models. So that is like extreme fragmentation. Then we have this hostile environment that we deal with, like these multiple events and all, and then this complex state management. So application ka scale, the mobile application scales come in this parameter. Not like we have one user using one app, using only one his app as independently. But this is where our scale comes into the picture. So second is how do we manage our code's complexity when we are going to that scale. Okay, so in second part we'll discuss that. So first is again these all concepts that we are dealing with or we are discussing here mostly deal when you have a big or better like when you have a good amount of scale. But even if you don't, just keeping these things in mind will make your code a lot better when you go to that stage. So first strategy is start with the blueprint. Okay, get your blueprint right. By this I mean get your architecture right. And by architecture again I don't want to go into the details like MVP or MVVM. I mean the bare bones of your apps, like the very fundamental parts. This could be navigation, this could be app level state management, this could be deep links handling. So these are like very fundamental to any app. So whenever you are designing these things, even if you don't have, like you will have to consider the scale whenever it will come. And keeping these fundamentals right will help you. So let's say you are building a building, okay, and you have the blueprint. That blueprint comes with let's say electrical system and water pipeline. So whenever in future you have a new requirement, let's say install some new bulbs in your building, you don't go and break the walls, right? You have your basic infrastructure ready and you will leverage that infrastructure. So if you don't have good infrastructure, you'll have to break the walls. And breaking the walls after building the whole building is not good. So first strategy is get your blueprint right and consider the key pillars. Here I have mentioned three because I think these are the very key things. Let's say navigation for example, okay. Let's say you have a movie summary page in movie booking flow and there are 6 ways to open movie booking. It can open via deep link, it can open via notification, it can open via venue listing page. So there is this venue, let's say PVR Inox का एक venue है, वहाँ पे movie का नाम लिखा है, and from there you open the movie का page. You can come from a home page to that movie ka page. So let's say there are 5-6 ways to open movie page, and till now the product team doesn't wanted how you reach to that movie page. But now they suddenly realize I want to understand how user is going to that movie listing page. So if you have a very good navigation setup, very solid navigation setup, so adding analytics to all of these things will be piece of cake for you. But every time you are doing start activities in random activity and every time you are using a very different thing to launch a same screen, this will be a nightmare for you to track where exactly that user came from in the movie booking flow. Again, same for app level state management, right? Again, let's take the example of movie booking again. So you are on the home page of site like Book My Show and you click on a movie. You go to that movie ka page, you click on book tickets, you go to see show times ka page, some kind of show times that this movie is playing in this venue at this time, at this time, at this time, again, and this venue at this time, at this time, at this time. You select a particular venue, you go to the seat layout of that venue. You select particular seat, you go to order summary. So how the data is coming from the backend, if you try and track down the flow. So on discovery page, on the home page, I don't have any data. But whenever I select a movie, I have movie ka data. Whenever I select on book now, I have only show times ka data. Whenever this show time, what are the show times? When I go to seat layout, I have movie ka data, showtime ka data, and actually that seat ka data. And when I go to order summary page, I have a particular booking ka data. So I have all this data, and it might be the case that order summary backend is sending me movie ka name again, which I already have. But what if order summary ka backend does some fuck up and they give you a different movie ka data? Again, you have that fuck up in your app level data management as well. So having a good architecture for app level state management is really important, and this again give you a good ROI when the things like user puts your app in the background, the OS kills that app, and all you end up with these data points. You have this movie ka name, movie ka ID, and all that. You don't have anything. So if you have a good app level state management in place, you can just get that movie ka code, you can ask the backend and get all that data back, and your user won't feel like lost when it opens the application from background again. Again, deep link handling is one of the examples. Deep links and push notification both. Let's say you have an app and you have like bi-weekly releases. Okay, so every month you go 2 releases, and now if you go on your Play Store, you will see that I have 16 versions which users are using, because I have every new version after 2 weeks. So I have 16 of these versions, and whenever marketing team wants to run some campaign, they will send a push notification. Okay, and this push notification will go to 16 different versions of the Android app, and your app structure is responsible for making it behave exactly the same on all those 16 versions. I don't know why we don't talk about deep link handling much, but this is one of the key pillars, because deep link has to behave on all the versions across the devices exactly the same. Otherwise, marketing people just go crazy. Okay, so the next is execute with right tools. Okay, so now let's say we have this good navigation setup in place, we have good deep link handling in place, we have good app level state management in place. Now comes implementing, like how do we keep this in our code base, so that this is, whenever new requirements come, this will be like good to deal with. So that's where the modularization comes into the picture. So if you have like 10 plus module, if you have 20 plus features, I think that could be a good threshold for considering the modularization. And modularization comes with these benefits. You have faster gradle build, you have a very clean code ownership, you have enforced separation of concern, and the dependency injection is the glue that will hold all these modularization together. Okay, the next part is the safety net. Okay, again, as we discussed, we'll have to be very careful whenever putting things in production. So that's where this safety net comes in. And again, you don't have this is the failure of your architecture if you are afraid to modify it. Okay, so this is where your safety net comes in, and your confidence to modify the key things in your architecture, so that even if I fuck up, there will be some unit test which will fail, which will tell me that you are doing something wrong. So that's where making changes with confidence and putting things very confidently in production comes in with this protection net of your code base. And you can loosely divide your whole testing infrastructure in these 3 parts. One is unit test, one is integration test, and third one is UI test. So I think everybody knows this. Unit test is the first line of defense. It will go for your business logic mostly, and unit test will give you high coverage, and they are very cheap to run. So you can run unit test on every commit or every feature build, whatever your organization decides, you can go that way. And then you have this integration test, which will test how these business logics is interacting with each other to create a component, and not just UI component, logic component in general. And then comes the UI test. UI test validates the happy path. And this is in order of this is very cheap to run unit test, but it takes some time to run integration test, and it takes a lot of time to run an UI test. So you should have a lot of unit tests to test even smaller and smaller things. You should have some integration test which will test a heart of your components and your logic, and you will have a couple of UI tests to test things like the payment is working or not, and all those things. Okay, so we talked about how do we manage our code's complexity so that our code is not holding us back when it grows. But what about people, right? In terms of code, we will scale, our architecture will take care of it, we'll have good testing setup, but what about people? So when our teams grow, features grow, even people in teams grow, so we'll have to make our people and teams also part of the scale and treat them well so that our app delivers features continuously. So the pain of growth, okay, more people, more problem. First is the friction of collaboration because everybody is working. They have their own project manager, TPMs pushing them. My feature is not going. My feature is not going. So they have their own responsibilities and all. Then you have when your code size grows, you have this built-in bottlenecks as well. So like whenever your Android app grows, build time grows, and we kind of don't like that. Personally, long compile time is a productivity killer for me. Then comes the inconsistent practices problem because we send analytics in some way in payment stream, but maybe the showtimes team or seat layout team is sending their analytics in a different way. So there comes this inconsistency problem. And there is this release day scramble. So managers might agree with me on this one. You have release in 2 days. You have 12 PRs open. 3 of them pending QA sign off. 4 of them pending data team sign off. So you have things like this when the team grows. So what are the solution to this? One solution could be having an assembly line. So this is basically automate everything you can. First thing, the goal of this assembly line is to create a reliable, repeatable and automated process for shipping our code. And this could come with a good CI that runs fast. Again, you can decide how you want to run your test cases on every feature build or on every commit. And you should have some kind of continuous delivery in place to handle all this. But again, the question comes: who will manage this assembly line? Who will create this assembly line? If something goes wrong in this assembly line, who will take responsibility for that? And that's where this solution comes into the picture. The platform team for mobile. Again, for small group of people like 5 or 6 people, even 10 people, they can manage, they can talk to each other. But when your team grows, like when you have 20 plus Android developers working, I think mobile platform team is must thing that you should consider in your Android team. So the problem is feature teams will build features but not manage like how much time your app is taking to build. So the solution is yes, as I said, a dedicated mobile platform team. The people or Android developer or mobile developer who are working on feature could be the customers of this platform team whenever they feel that something should happen, like whenever something like say our image loading is taking some time. So as a feature developer, I won't go in and take why my image loading is taking time, because image loading is something that could be the responsibility of this platform team. You can just raise it to platform team and doing this feature and image loading is taking time. So please look into image library that we have, why it is taking time. So yes, this is the mission is to increase the developer productivity and own the core infrastructure. Okay, so these are the some of the responsibilities that I think mobile platform team should have, but this can again vary team to team and organization to organization. So platform teams could be responsible for managing your app release or developer tooling and experience in general. So if the developers are facing problems while testing, so they can raise it to platform team that we are facing these issues. Could you please look into that? They can manage the architecture and maintenance. They can manage the third-party tooling. They can keep a track of what third-party libraries and SDKs that we are using. If there are any active vulnerabilities in any of the SDKs or libraries we are using, if there are any new versions which is better than what we have is available in the market for those particular libraries, platform teams can look into that. And Platform team can again have the ownership of the core libraries, like networking, like image loading, like managing analytics, like there could be a lot of things which directly don't impact the feature delivery of the app. Platform team can take the ownership of things like those. So this is what we discussed on how do we scale people for maintaining the scale of our apps. So first is identify your pains, automate your process, and specialize the roles. Okay, so your leadership might see all this, all the effort that we are putting in to build and manage both Android and iOS app, and they might consider, okay, we are doing this, we are doing this, we are doing this. Step one, we are building a feature. Step two, we are creating a build. Step three, we are running the unit test. Step four, we are submitting this build to Play Store or App Store, and then this goes to user. ओके यहाँ पे थोड़ा डुप्लीकेशन है. स्टेप वन दोनों कोड लिख रहे हैं, स्टेप टू दोनों बिल्ड बना रहे हैं, स्टेप थ्री दोनों बिल्ड सबमिट कर रहे हैं, स्टेप फोर दोनों के स्टोर पे बिल्ड जा रहा है. तो देन दे माइट, और इवन एज अ डेवलपर यू माइट थिंक दैट डुप्लीकेशन तो हो रहा है वर्क का. सो शुड वी टीच नेटिव एंड शुड वी कंसिडर समथिंग लाइक फ्लटर और समथिंग लाइक रिएक्ट नेटिव और अ क्रॉस प्लेटफॉर्म सॉल्यूशन. सो लेट्स डिस्कस वो वाला डिबेट आल्सो, द ग्रेट डिबेट. So this is what cross-platform offers. Okay, I'm calling this cross-platform dream, I guess. They offer the promise of speed. They say that you build it once and you develop faster with cross-platform. They give you the promise of efficiency, one team, one code base, lower cost, less overhead. They give you this promise of consistency, that same logic will run on Android and iOS, so you will not run into inconsistencies. So this looks like a good deal, right? So, but again, these are the three main, currently in market, these are the three main flavors of developing mobile app. Flutter, they have their own UI engine, so you will find like very less UI inconsistency with Flutter. React Native, again, you have a big web team and you want to create a new Android app, you should definitely go for React Native. And if you have a good Android native team, make them teach Kotlin to iOS team, and you have Kotlin multi-platform as a very good solution. So Kotlin multi-platform is a bit different from React Native or Flutter. So what Kotlin multi-platform offers is to write only the business logic in shared cases, and UI will be 100% native. So I think Kotlin multi-platform really shines here, but it is relatively new if you compare it to React Native or Flutter, but very mature. So again, this is the reality set. Okay, so there is no silver bullets. There are trade-offs, a lot of trade-offs actually. Again, React Native, Kotlin multi-platform, or Flutter, they give you some kind of abstraction, and always abstraction always has some kind of cost associated with it. So things are really good when there is a bug on only one platform. So you'll have to go native, you'll have to debug native what is going wrong. Then tooling can be complex because Google is not going to invest time to debug Flutter on Android natively. Same with React Native. And then is again this cross-platform, multi-platform. These solution depends a lot on team. Team will never be productive if they are continuously fighting with the framework. And this cross-platform and multi-platform framework will always stay one step behind the native because they have to adopt, and you have to wait for your framework to adapt to those things. This happened with biometric authentication. People pushed a lot on React Native, I guess, when the biometric authentication came out. Yeah. So we discussed, so let's say based on your team, based on your organization, you chose to go native, or you chose to choose some kind of cross-platform or multi-platform framework. But what does it take for your app for going from good to great? So there are couple of post-production things. One is it works to how it feels fast. Okay, so you should always consider performance as a feature. You can note these couple of things as part of performance. App startup time is one of them. UI performance is one of them. Battery and resources uses, and you'll have to know right tools for doing this job. Basically, for app startup time and everything, you can have a benchmark framework in place to measure this. For UI performance, again, we had amazing session today. So you can look into Android Studio Profiler or Perfetto to identify your UI performance issues. Again, there are tools for managing and observing how much battery we are consuming. Android Studio offers those. So you should definitely use the tools and leverage the tools we have in place to consider performance as a feature. Then is from guessing to knowing. Again, you have analytics, monitoring, and experimentation. So I've mentioned here Firebase Analytics, Firebase Crashlytics, and Firebase Remote Config because these are free. But there are other tools which are better. For analytics, you can go for CleverTab as well, but they again bit costly. It is not free. I think there is a free version. I'm not sure. Please check. For monitoring, you have Firebase Crashlytics, you have Sentry. Again, Sentry is costly, but Firebase Crashlytics is free. For experimentation, there are a lot of tools available for experimentation. You have Firebase Remote Config, again free, but there are paid versions which are much better, like Statistic for experimentation. So your product team can go get this data and do actually know the user behavior instead of just guessing it. And then there comes the app size. There is a lot of business impact to app size. This is again Google's research that if you increase your app size by 6 MB, your user base reduces by 1%, because users have limited storage on their apps. Again, you can use APK, AAV instead of APK. You can use tools like R8 and for asset optimization and code minification. So this is my whole talk summarized how you basically your survival guide for coming up scale. One is yes, mobile is unique. Please understand this uniqueness and communicate this uniqueness to the backend team, to your product team, to your marketing team and management in general. So then we discussed how we can manage our code's complexity. Then how can we scale our people and pipeline to handle the growing complexity of the code. Then we discussed the native versus non-native debate, and then some post-production things. And this is kind of like homework for you guys. So on Monday, you can go to your Play Store console and check your vitals, your crashes, your app startup time, and all the things. Then you find your biggest module, that is the best candidate for refactoring. Please do this. And then for your app, for every aspect of your app, ask this question: how can I measure this? May it be performance, may it be compile time, may it be build time, everything. Just once you start measuring it, you'll definitely find a way to improve it. And I think that's it. If you have any questions and anything, please do let me know. Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to ask, like, which architecture you guys have been using at Masho and how it is helping you to scale?
Okay, so Bookmyshow is currently uses like different architecture for different module because there has been a big journey. Currently we go MVVM mostly, but there are things like 10-year-old code, 11-year-old code. We used to have React Native like a couple of years back. Then we switched to native. Then Android team and iOS team became two different teams. But we don't have like solid architecture, but new code, whatever we are writing, we are following MVVM. There are things in place, like we have a very good routing architecture in place in our app. So in general, problem with routing is web routing is very sorted because they are very organized and there are standards in place. So navigation के लिए app का कोई standard नहीं है, set standard. You can see it in libraries as well. Google came up with Jetpack Navigation and then Jetpack Navigation 2, and then now they are heavily promoting Jetpack Navigation 3. So navigation is a hard problem to solve. So even Google took 3 and hope they get better with naming instead of just 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
So I had built an app for which till Android 13 I had set the status bar and navigation bar color, but till Android 13 it is working.
Okay.
But after 13, for 14 and 15 it is not working.
Again, this is yes, please.
How do you guys manage?
We can't actually. We can't manage this because again we are just consumer on an OS. So we'll have to like there was a lot of changes in notification in Android 10. Again in Android 14 they introduced channels in 10 and priority in. Sorry, I lost the count, but I think in 11 only they introduced the notification channel, notification priority. You will have to adapt to these things because the platform on which our app is running is coming up with those rules. So you will have to adopt on those. Yeah, there is like no other way. So if you guys have any better answer, please you can step in. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, thanks for asking this question. This is easy question to ask, but very difficult to implement. Because what happens whenever you will have to migrate to the next version, right? It is not an easy job. You will have to make a plan first. If I give you example, what we used to do in the Swiggy, if we will have to migrate to the next version, for example, it's 35, we will have to migrate to 36, right? So first of all, we will have to list down all the changes what has been incorporated in the next version, right? So we'll have to create an entire doc for all the changes in the impact area. Then further we'll have to do some deep analysis as well, what all impact areas as well we will have, whether we'll have to take all the changes in a one go or you know, maybe in like parts. Then we'll have to communicate to QA also, you know, these are the impact areas that you will have to check it, correct? And so many features are here, we will have to test it entirely end to end before even, you know, releasing the applications to make sure it is not impacting users. Think like a way Swiggy has more than 3 million users, daily active users, right? And in current version it is showing notifications or progress bar, whatever it is, right? And in the next version currently it is buggy. And people trust applications like whether it is Uber, Book My Shop, or Swiggy. Now, if you are shipping a buggy code because of this, so that's not good. So that's why you will have to go through entire process, like by getting documentation, analyze the impact, then post you will have to ship it. That's
even if you even work on that in that time frame, you will lose many users. That much.
No, that doesn't happen. We do not lose users because we are so fast in doing those things because Google gives you time. It doesn't say you will have to migrate immediately, otherwise, you know, these users won't be able to use your applications, right? That doesn't happen. If you update your target SDKs or compile SDK version to, you know, a higher version, then you don't lose user. But yes, you will have to definitely migrate within a time frame.
Yes, and again there are like migration guides and everything. The Google and Apple both gives you like good documentation to migrate to new versions.
I think
Yeah.
so as Shreyas said, like you'd always leave out those 10% users, as he said. Like he did so much, but you can't just do anything about that 10%. 1%. 1%. Sorry.
But guys, in general, अगर हमारा ऐप छोटा भी है, just keeping these things in mind will make your code better. और अगर फ्यूचर में कोड नहीं भी रहता है, this will make your prompts better. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah, I'll take it as no. Karo. Yeah.